Hi, I'm Lauren Z. Ray, and I'm a content creator and filmmaker. I was just a kid with a video camera in Indiana in the late 90s when no one wanted to be recorded and didn't think there was any value in being recorded. I was that annoying person that loved filming, but that's kind of how I found my creative voice, was just filming things and how I enjoyed watching it back. I've always loved entertaining people, a crowd, and making videos so that everyone can be entertained over and over and over again. And now it's what I do full time and I get paid for it. So it's funny that video now is important because before, like I said, people weren't into it, but now it's changed. So that's really cool. I think if you follow your dreams, maybe someday they'll be important or maybe more significant, or it already is. But it's really cool that that's the way it all turned out.
Lauren, it was so great to have you on the show here today. Welcome, and thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so normally we see you on YouTube with you holding the camera, but now we're a little bit different setup here, and it all began with your journey as a creator. But before we talk about your adventures in Richmond, I want to hit the rewind button here because recently on your vlog with your sister and brother-in-law, you were showing these older clips, and it seems like film has been this natural part of your life, and then all of your adventures through being a digital nomad, and of course your actress and film career. Can you take us back to what those days were like and how that really started to formulate your creative journey?
Yeah, I think one day my parents handed me the family video camera and said, "Can you just film this?" Maybe I was just standing there, or they saw that I love to be in front of a crowd. I mean, I've been entertaining since I was a kid. I have 4 other siblings, so big family, and I loved when everybody would laugh and have fun. And I even extended that into sports and like anything I was involved in. So if you've ever met me through my life, you know that being around Lauren is an entertaining time. And I just took the camera and I ran with it. And I loved it because you were able to rewatch things over and over again and be re-entertained. And I love that aspect of being able to like recount memories and be there for them over and over again. So like, I think that's how it all started, was just with the family video camera.
I love that. And especially too with like video has this unique part of, connecting with people that, as you alluded to earlier, didn't really have that much traction, right? From the home video side of it. When did you first realize that your videos and your artwork could not only be, rewatched and, re-engage a conversation, but also really connect with somebody you might not have even met before?
I think the first time was probably in high school, which probably was a good 10 years after I was filming things. A lot of people were just annoyed with me in my childhood of filming, which if you rewatch those videos, it's understandable. I would just like zoom in on like butts and stuff and laugh, it's just like kid stuff.
As you do with a high school with a camera, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I created some things, like my first, I would say full film was in 2001, and it was Christmas break, and I had all of my siblings there and their friends, and I created this. It's an insane, there's a lot of screaming involved, but it was called Hostage, and it was like a play on the film of that year or something, and it was like this like scary thing. But I've watched it back and it's so good. Actually, a lot of my shots are very interesting, and I feel like the transitions were really good. I don't know. I think it's good film for, I was only like 11 years old.
Sure.
But yeah, high school is when actually in my small town in Indiana that I'm from, they had a television production class, which is I'm extremely grateful for. And
that's phenomenal.
It was so new at the time.
Good for you, Indiana. Good for you.
Right? It was like the first or second year they've ever had it.
Yeah.
And I remember my mom was like, "You've got to take that class." And I just was like, "Oh, I don't know. I was just nervous about like, I don't know, taking a class where, oh, by the way, I was like one of the only girls in. So it's mostly boys in that class.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, filmmaking today, even there's more male directors and filmmakers, I think. Definitely it's different. It's coming up as we're doing more things. But
Sure.
Yeah, it was mostly, I think, and it has been, jumping ahead, but I've gone to film festivals for my documentary, and I'll go with my partner, Lucas, and people will say to Lucas, like, what film of yours is in the festival? And I'd say, well, it's my film.
Excuse me. Hi, producer and director Lauren right here. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that was kind of the deal. But yeah, they'd have interesting assignments, music videos, commercials, and I loved it because I loved being in front of the camera and behind. And it was just so much fun to create these. And people in the class would watch them back and laugh. And I just love that. So it was like the first time people actually kind of wanted to watch my videos, you could say. And that was really, really cool.
Yeah, and just finding that audience, right? Because, people that, generally that don't want to be in a film don't appreciate that the skill or the concept as much, right? But being able to find your tribe or find your voice and push back some of those barriers, those gender barriers, is extremely important and very, very inspiring to hear about. So it just made sense to go to film school, or like, how did that come about? And can you walk us through maybe your actress days of really finding like your voice and your tone? Because there's a lot of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes that I've learned just in my short time podcasting that really plays a huge role in connecting with your viewer overall.
Yeah, so it was like senior year of high school, and I was like, okay, what college should I go to? And then I like applied to some, and I would drop down the like thing that said all the majors, and you had to pick one, and none of them made sense for me. I was like, oh, I don't know, like none of these. I don't really want to do any of these things. And I remember talking to my parents, like, well, what college should I go to? What major should I put? And both of them were like, why do you want to go to college? And I was like, that's the next step. If I don't go to college, I feel like for the rest of my life, people will think I'm less intelligent just because I,
Sure.
never went to college. And they were
a common theme in the 90s, go to college. That's the next best thing.
Literally,
right? Yeah.
literally. I think nowadays, especially with social media and stuff, I think people are really more open-minded to the possibility of interesting careers even and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, back then, small town, it was just like, you go. And I was top 10 in my class. It just would make sense if I did, but they were like, you can go to college anytime. Like, I feel like you should try to pursue, your interest in film. And I'm like, what? That's just a side hobby. That's nothing serious.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, you should definitely, try. So my parents actually pushed me to look different, and to be different. So I auditioned for two. I decided to, it was difficult. I was said film school or acting school.
Right.
And at the time, I really wanted to be more in front of the camera. And so I auditioned for two different schools in New York City, the Conservatory for Dramatic Arts and also LA, New York Film Academy, that's what it is. And I got into both and actually got small scholarships to go to both, which was really cool. And
wow,
yeah,
look at you. I mean, good for that parent push, but you got accepted to both,
right? And
that's phenomenal.
And my acting skills at the time weren't great, but I think that they must have seen that like this is a future entertainer, and I think that
you had put in the reps of all the videos. Once you like zoomed out of the butts and like, started telling a story, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I think that they could see that in me. So that was cool. And I couldn't decide which one to go to. So I just ended up going to both. So I went to both programs. And so I was in New York for about a year and a half.
You went to two colleges at the same time?
Yeah, they're not, well, I don't know if they're really colleges. They're more like schools, I guess you could say. Yeah, there's no like there's a certificate out there, but it's not like a diploma. Yeah. It's like she did like hours of this, and pay this money.
But still, so you were committing to, two separate academies, two separate programs.
Yeah, and that was really interesting too because they were very different. One felt like it was more prestigious and and then one felt like it was more grunge. So it's kind of cool just to like see both sides of their different dynamics. And I met a lot of people that way too, which is cool. But after that, I just said, New York, I don't know if it's really my style. I don't sing and, theater, there's not so many roles without singing. It felt to me in New York. I wanted to be in film. And so at the time that was more in LA. So I moved to LA. I'd never been there before. I didn't know anyone and I just moved there.
Yeah. Sounds like the start to the next pop song right there. If you should pick up singing, move to LA. Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Maybe that's still today. But so this was back in 2009. And so I moved to LA and I just hit the ground running, took a bunch of improvisation classes at the Groundlings, which is a famous improv company. I mean, Will Ferrell, Kristen Wiig, all those people went there. The Flo from Progressive went there. All the people. Oh, what was that?
Oh.
It was an earring. It's okay.
Okay.
Continuity issue.
Yeah.
No.
Was it your earring or
it was mine.
Okay.
Do you have an earring?
No, I don't. Just double checking.
I love that.
I might have had one.
And then I just attended a lot of acting classes, and I wanted to work in film and TV. The industry is interesting, and it's hard to describe unless you've gone through it, but it's a lot, and it's not always about your talent or your skills or ability. Sometimes it's timing, sometimes it's look, voice, everything. And that was really interesting to discover. And as you asked the question, like, how did you, kind of discover your voice, etc., it was a long road because as an actor, you're kind of like trying to, anyways, for me, you're trying to be the person you think people want you to be.
Right.
So it's really difficult to find yourself that way because you're always kind of morphing yourself to like what this casting director wants or what your manager or agent say that you fit on TV and like, or just your peers. I cared a lot about what people thought. And so it was really difficult for a long time. And then when I did eventually start getting work on television, I realized it wasn't as much as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like this ever-changing thing. That's like what kept me going for like all those years, is like when I just get one, I know it's going to change, and nothing changed. I didn't change. It was the same. And so it took me about a year of like realizing that maybe I needed to shift kind of what I was going for. And I had this like, I don't know if it was like a dream that I had or something, but I was like, I want to film this documentary. I'd never filmed a documentary before. I'd never filmed a full-length feature before, nothing. But I was like, I really love this subject matter, and I have this idea, and I want to do it. So I filmed my first documentary in 2017, and it was about this small town in Indiana of 200 people. And I grew up going to this town because my whole family's from there. And I'm talking both sides of my family. My mom and my dad's family is from this small town. Yeah. They've been there forever. And like my like last names of like who I'm related to has a lot of pull. I could like name drop there and people are like, accept me, bring me in. Yeah. Like there's only like three main families.
That's a nice Indiana street cred right there.
I know, right? Exactly. Yeah. So I thought it was the quirkiest town. I just thought it was really odd. Like I've been to a lot of small towns in Indiana, but this one was different, and plus, like I said, everyone's kind of related. So it's like, it's just a weird dynamic. And I really wanted it to be on film. Yeah. And so I don't know why, I just did. And the more I started working on this documentary, the more I realized how like meant to be it was. It was like their 20th annual Labor Day festival coming up. Right. My aunt and uncle were going to be like the grand marshals of the parade. It was like all these things lined up to make the perfect film. And so I filmed it. And that was like my first time kind of just being behind the camera again since I was a kid. It was like 10 years of a time where I didn't film anything.
Wow. What a whirlwind, because like you were talking through like your desire to be on film and to be the actress, and maybe not Broadway, but maybe in TV and film. And then there's this constant theme, and I recognize it, especially for, the plans that we're told, like, okay, go to school or climb this certain ladder of success. When you actually end up fulfilling it, you get to the top of this ladder and you're like, oh, I climbed the wrong ladder.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't where I want to be. So I'm curious for you, from that moment of like really, making that major pivot to now picking up the camera and diving into like what it meant to tell a great story. What are some of those like themes that started popping out for you as like, okay, I want to capture this, I want to capture that? And then obviously the perfect storm is not always there in film, but you kind of make it work. What themes did you start noticing picking up for you? And dive into Richmond next.
Right. Well, that's what's interesting too. If I fast forward a bit, people ask me like, how did you build such a following so fast? It's a complicated question because there's so much that goes into it. So when you say like, maybe I climbed the wrong ladder, I think every ladder I climbed was the correct ladder because it got me to where I am today. And without all of that experience, maybe it wouldn't be what it is today. So my acting skills, my filmmaking skills, and just the skill of being able to put yourself out there and be brave. All of that kind of, goes together of years of experience to where I am today. Yeah. So theming wise, through my life, I've realized, because I'm very introspective, and I have been since I'm little. Like I remember having complicated thoughts when I was younger. I'm very empathetic. And so,
and that comes out that even comes out in your vlogs too, like just the well thought out process too. I'm curious if we could pull back that layer, because like even as simple as like your whitewater rafting video that you did recently, where it's not just you whitewater rafting on a shaking camera, it's people swimming in the water, it's the instructor making some weird pineapple juice and everyone drinks out of it. Like, how do you like what is the essence of a Lauren Z. Ray video, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Right. I think for me and the work that I've done to figure that out, I've realized it's always about people, and I'm obsessed with people, and the stories that I tell and the documentaries I make, it's all about the people and their stories. And the reels that I make on Instagram, it's all about people. If you watch them, they're like mini documentaries. I interview the head chef or the business owner, and I put that in a reel. Like, nobody does that. I don't even know if I've seen an account ever who does videos the way I do. And the only reason why I do them that way is that that's what I wanted to do. I just love people and I love their stories. I wanted to integrate that into a video about the food. It's like, you're a vegan foodie, sure, but it's more about the journey of the person who brought that food to me, and also like if it's good or not. But it's that.
Yeah, that's the crucial part right there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I think if you had to describe a Lauren Z. Ray film, it'd be like, I make sure that you get all aspects of a person and their story. And one of the compliments I got on my first film, the documentary, it's called Welcome to Monterey. Monterey, Indiana is the small town of 200. After I premiered it just to the cast. So these are people that are from a small town of 200 people. They've maybe never been on camera before. They sure as heck have never been interviewed.
Yeah. These are going to be your harshest critics.
Yeah, and they might not be comfortable on camera. And yet, if you watch the film, they're extremely comfortable on camera. And I had so many amazing compliments after the premiere of people talking to me. And a lot of them were saying things like, I've never seen that person talk like that before. Or, oh my gosh, you got them to open up. They never are like that normally. Yeah. And just people getting the perspective of these people. And they were just like so amazed that I was able to capture it. And my biggest compliment was, you did it. You captured our town. I never even grew up there. I visited as a kid a little bit. Wow. But like, I was able to see the stories of the people and understand which parts of their story that need to be told in order to entertain, but also to tell the story. And that is a skill I cannot explain. And I don't think it's ever been learned. I never went to film school, so I don't even know it. It's been inside of me since I was younger, just telling stories. So like, I started just kind of telling stories. I'm a very good storyteller. Yeah. And then that translated to film when I got more into like video. It's inside of me and I just understand and know. So like when you're like, how did you know to maybe film this part or add that in? I have this gut instinct that's like, this is a good moment to share. And it also showcases more of this person's personality or their aspect or whatever. Like, I don't know why, but that's a natural born skill. You know, maybe I'm not great at math or I'm not the best soccer player, as some people have natural abilities, and it's not measured at school. So like on your report card, there's no like storytelling area or measurement of that.
Nice person. Great to talk to. Yeah. Those soft skills that we desperately need in our society and our community.
Right.
Not being measured in school quite the way we needed to.
Exactly. And so I always felt like I had to try harder than everybody else because in my mind, what measures success as a person were these report cards with the subjects or your skills on the soccer field or the swimming pool or whatever. And I felt like I had to work harder than everybody else because I didn't have these natural skills or abilities that everybody else had. I wasn't realizing that storytelling, the natural ability skill that I had, was important. I couldn't see it for a long time. So yeah, I think those are all the thoughts anyways.
Yeah. So I'm curious, like growing up, was there a certain actress or TV show or possibly story that or creator that stood out to you as being like, oh, I want to capture the essence of that video? And I'll name drop here because YouTube knows people like Casey Neistat, who has certain film school style and storytelling ability. But I'm curious, who is that person for you?
That's a really good question. Well, I grew up being obsessed with Shirley Temple movies. Okay. Is that the one where they're on the conveyor belt with the chocolates? No, that's I Love Lucy.
Okay, scratch that part.
Keep it in there. Show just the way he is. It's Shirley Temple is a 1930s sort of
Shirley Temple reference.
Sure. Oh gosh, Curly Top. Okay, like one of her famous songs is like, on the good ship, lollipop, it's a great trip to the candy shop. I mean, she was basically a singer, dancer, and actress at the age of 3. Wow. And by the time she was 12, she was too old, Hollywood stuff. But she was fantastic. She helped America and potentially the world during the Great Depression. be entertained. So she was very impactful that way. I loved her films. I thought they were just amazing. They're in black and white. I mean, some of them might have been colorized recently, but I was obsessed with those films as a kid. So I kind of wanted to like be Shirley Temple.
Yeah. Wow, I love that. I love that. So, as you begin to tell your story and really formulate like your voice and also like redefining what it means to, create your own style of film and video, what part of the Richmond voice, the Richmond community stood out to you while you were looking at places to move? And what exactly drew you to Richmond to say, "Hey, I want to start my next film production, my next storytelling in the city?"
Yeah, I think it's crazy because we visited January 2021 and we stayed here for 1 month. At the time it was COVID, and also at the time we were digital nomads. So we were just kind of traveling the US. We embarked on a journey to find where we wanted to live one day. And we thought maybe a month in every place would be really good. So we came to Richmond, January 2021. Again, January. I guess if you love it at its worst, but I think Richmond's great year round.
It's like the coldest time of the month for our non-Virginia people.
Yes.
Like
It
January and
snowed, too.
February is miserably cold.
Yeah, and it's gray and dead. Yeah, but it snowed the second day we were there, but we fell in love. We were absolutely obsessed with it, like
Yeah.
within hours. And I think it was a mixture at first of the architecture and the homes, and that there weren't like big CVS signs and McDonald's like signs. And like it seems like within the city, especially where we were staying in the Fan, it was just beautiful homes. And we were like, wait, how is this? I've never seen this before. And it was cozy and there were trees. And like the food scene was incredible. I mean, we're vegan and like the food scene isn't incredible everywhere. And for a place like Richmond, to me, I didn't know much about it before visiting. Felt like, what?
Like this
This
place
is-
exists. Yeah.
And then I would see people out walking who I felt like were proud of themselves and they were different and unique and they looked so cool. And I was like, okay, if these are the people of Richmond, I belong here. I wanted to find a place where I wouldn't stand out as being the weird one.
Sure.
I wanted to blend in and find other weirdos.
People are okay with you filming and documenting, right? Yeah.
Yes, because it seems like most places I felt like definitely like I didn't
Look at you
belong,
guys,
sort of. Yeah. Especially in my small town I grew up in. But I've come to see that now as a place where actually people really loved me there and like enjoyed being entertained by me. I couldn't find maybe somebody else who liked the same interests as me, but the people, they did like me. So it was just that I didn't really see anybody else that was kind of like me. But looking back to, it's interesting, like retrospective and like growing older and, having more wisdom, I guess you could say. I see, a lot more truth than my perceived negative experiences that I had as a kid, but that's a whole different subject.
Sure.
But Richmond, yeah, it was amazing. And we were like, this is the place. And we ended up visiting, I think, 20 some states.
You guys were on a tour spree.
Yeah.
And I know you covered that in your YouTube channel as
Yeah.
well. So if you want to learn more about that, definitely go and check it out.
Yes.
On Lauren Z. Ray's channel.
Yes, I have the whole story there because this is who I am. But if I get a question a lot, I just make a film about it and then say, you can watch it here.
Yeah.
Some people are like...
Link in the description below. Like and subscribe. Yes.
Literally, yeah. They're like, well, what was it like, traveling full time? And I'm like, actually, I have a film about that. I just kind of make a film about things that like I want to remember myself, but also I pretty much have a video about everything, really. That's just who I am. I just love making videos, obviously. But Richmond was amazing, and it was definitely at the top. No, everybody's like, well, what were the top three? I said there wasn't a top three. It was just Richmond.
Yeah.
But if you're pulling my leg, I guess you could say like maybe Portland, New York City. I don't know, but they both aren't even close to Richmond.
It's its own place. Yeah.
It is.
It's
It's
its own
just-
place and its own people. Yeah.
It's fantastic. And
Yeah.
so since that moment, we knew we wanted to move here. It just never was quite right with like how the business was. And we ended up going back to Europe and all that stuff, which obviously is fantastic and great. And I'm so grateful for all of that. But yeah, it wasn't until the summer 2023 that finally we were like, okay, actually we can move to Richmond. So it was about 2.5 years of just knowing we were going to move here and just really excited about moving here. So when that happened, I had about, I would say, 3 years of experience making reels and 10 years experience on social media and about 5 years of really using social media to have a career for me and my partner's business. I also traveled internationally for about 5 years. And during that time, I was creating content for vegan restaurants and like things to do to help people with their travels. So like travel tips and food tips. I was already doing that and I loved doing that. So when I came to Richmond, I thought, well, I'd love to do that here. I just don't know if there's space for me and I don't know in what capacity. So I met a lot of people. So I met with a few other people who were online who had social media accounts here in Richmond. And I met with the person who ran the vegan account for Richmond because I just wanted to see if there was space for me.
How do I survive? I need food to eat. Yes.
And yeah, if they would just, if I would be welcome online or like what the case was.
Sure.
I still have this point of view now, but I try not to, and it's hard because it's a challenge, but like I don't want to take up necessarily space for somebody who might deserve it more. You know what I'm saying? So like other people have lived here longer than me. What gives me the right to post about it sort of thing. And so when I met with these other people who have lived here for years and are on social media, they were just like, there is so much space for you. Come on in, totally post about it.
Very creator friendly.
Do it. They were like, you should totally do it. And you know, the vegan community needs someone too. Like I just got so much approval and like acceptance to do it. But I still took about 5 months after moving here before I posted my first reel about Richmond. Because I just wanted to just, you know, get a lay of the land and kind of see what it was about first, I guess you could say. Yeah. But I am so glad I did. It literally has changed my life. This last year is the best year of my life. No joke. Like it sounds so cheesy, but it's true.
Yeah. Lauren, great on you for like being super like intentional with that. I love that about your spirit and about the way you create. You're like, hey, I don't want to come in and barge in necessarily to a space that may already have some content available to individuals, because it goes back to the stories and the people, the stories that you're telling, like making sure it's okay to film, right?
Yeah.
Making sure it's okay to share that story. I know of a couple places we've actually tried to explore and have on the podcast, and like, hey, we're good with keeping it a hidden gem. You know, we're good with keeping it secret. True. So good on you for that. And, you know, I want to definitely, you know, highlight this one point here because I'm so fascinated with the places that you pick. And obviously Richmond is a great spot and you have this really good skill of, you know, that feeling of where to feature. But I'm curious, like on the practical side, how do you decide what to feature next and what drives your creative choices outside of the, you know, like once you have the gut instinct, because as creators ourselves, you know, we have a million video ideas we want to do, but not enough time in the world to do it. So how do you narrow that down to say, hey, this is the next best project? It's
so funny because I get this question all the time. They're like, how do you know what's going on or where to go? And it's very much random, like, but not in like, I don't know, but I have come to the place in this life that I have where I just work a lot off of gut instinct, and I trust myself and I trust the universe, which I never did before. In fact, I lived most of my life where I was like, I need to control everything that happens because it won't happen unless I'm very like in control. And so like my whole acting career and everything, I never just trusted, you know, I tried to manipulate everything always and be in control, and it was a lot. And so I just thought, well, I've lived most of my life doing that. So what if I lived most of my life just trusting and, you know, seeing what happens? And yeah, it's paid off for sure. But, and there's a lot that goes into it. You can't just be like, I'm going to walk across the street and with my eyes closed, nothing like that. But,
not on this street. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to watch out everywhere in Richmond.
Start a new journey.
Yeah. People are like, Richmond drivers are some of the worst. And I'm like, well, it has been interesting. I did live in LA for almost 10 years and driving there is questionable too. So, but yeah. It's an interesting situation, but
it's so walkable. It's so walkable, which is great.
I could go on for days about why I love Richmond so much. I'm absolutely obsessed with it, and anybody who sees any of my videos or talks to me like knows my obsession with it. But what was the question? I guess we went off on a tangent.
No, you're great.
I just love that.
If you want to learn more about Richmond, hang out with Lauren Z. Ray.
I'm obsessed. Yeah, I'm obsessed with like the historical aspects of Richmond, and I really love how much unique things to do there are here in the vegan food scene. So I guess a lot of like what I choose to show is based upon like what I love. And apparently a lot of other people love similar things because I'm always putting out what I love. And so people who see it and follow are people who also love those things. So we kind of create a community that way. And so I think that's kind of, but a lot of people and a lot of businesses and stuff reach out to me too, or people give me advice and tips, which, is my favorite part about being on social media. I always dreamed of having a community where like I could pop something up in my story and people would answer with like advice. And that's happening now. And I'm obsessed with it because a lot of the places I go and the places I see, especially when I first moved here, was just given to me as tips from people who followed me or
Yeah.
own the businesses.
That is so cool. That's amazing. And that just highlights like that's why we wanted to come to Richmond and share these stories, because there are so many unique places and creative voices out there. And, we're so glad we get to highlight your voice as well. So, like, when it comes to the projects, do you rely more on like tips and tricks of like what people recommend, or is it like where does the pendulum swing the other way and also doing stuff that you like to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously you're vegan, so you're not going to necessarily go out and try all the best,
That is, yeah.
meatiest burgers out there, right? So where does that pendulum swing for you, and when do you know like, okay, yeah, this falls in place, or maybe not?
I do love a unique story, I will admit. So if it's like a unique thing to do or the person who's doing it has a unique story, I'm obsessed. So in those cases, I'm very much like, oh, I need to do this. But I really do choose projects that I just like. I just feel like it'd be inauthentic if I didn't like something that I'm showing. So I love outdoor adventures. I love food. I love unique things. I love history. And like Richmond, most of the things that are to do here, like it falls under those categories.
Right.
So, of course, people sometimes don't read my bio or maybe do a little bit of research. So sometimes they do invite me to things that I'm like, well, like this new sushi restaurant that opens, and I just see that the vegan options are kind of just like an avocado roll, a cucumber roll, but there's nothing too like,
Yeah.
I don't know, creative, I guess you could say. I'm like, I'm not really into highlighting this place because I want to highlight places where they're just putting in a little bit more effort when it comes to the vegan scene. Because the vegans in Richmond are smart and they have, tasted the food and they understand and know. So I want to make sure I'm doing my due diligence and the best I can for them. And so if I highlighted a sushi restaurant that just had like the normal options, every sushi restaurant in Richmond has those options.
Yeah. Great. We can all get edamame anywhere, right? Yeah.
But if it's somebody who created their very own soy sauce and they moved to Richmond from Japan, and there's like a beautiful story there that needs to be told so that anybody who sees this reel hears the story and needs to go, vegan or not, I would love to highlight that person. So it's tricky that way because it's like I want to show the good vegan options, but like not just vegans watch these reels. I mean, the algorithm pushes it to everybody,
Right.
And so, yeah, you're torn sometimes. But honestly, like I said, ever since I've just started to trust more and follow my gut, the right projects have came to me and everything's been amazing. So
That's incredible. And what an amazing place to do this all. And we're super, once again, very grateful to have you, Lauren. As we wrap up our conversation today, one of the last questions we've been asking during this series is, really figuring out like what part of your creativity that you hope that maybe, either from your work, regardless of when someone sees it, that your hope is that they take away from that video or that experience.
what's cool about the work I'm doing now is that a lot of my videos get really good views. And so I'm able to hear a lot of feedback, which is fantastic because one of my favorite things in the world is feedback. It's how you understand and know what people like and how you can tap in and make sure you follow that, And so a lot of people have said that, wow, I was impacted by this story, or wow, the food was amazing, or it's so cool to see this. I've been going here for years and now I know what the chef looks like. Stuff like that is amazing because like I said earlier, I'm all about the people and their stories. So it's the feedback. And I also want to say that I don't know if it's like this everywhere because it would be hard for me to know, but the people who watch my videos and the people of Richmond are incredible. I mean, I get stopped on the street all the time and people will literally say, "I'm so happy you're here." What?
Wow.
Or we're so thankful for you, or your videos mean so much to me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, because I can't even explain to them when I'm like, thank you so much. I literally mean, thank you so much for watching. Like for somebody who's been making videos since they're 8, almost 30 years, and And for the last year, people actually saying, I'm so glad you're here and I love your videos and stuff. It means so much to me because I've been making videos for so long and nobody watched them. So,
Yeah. Lauren, of course. And again, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
of course, glad to be here.